We've been looking at people and we've been looking at websites, but what about DNS and locational information? So we can query DNS and we can find out geographically and logically where these people are. So a great tool, and I mentioned it before, is DNS Stuff. It is not just a DNS lookup tool. Let me just zoom in so you can see it a little better here. You can get who is, IP who is, in other words, who is by name or who is by IP address. You can check yourself to see if you have DNS problems. You can look at networking tools, IP tools, domain and www tools. We can see who is co-hosting their DNS, any top-level domains. We can look at their certificates, SSL configurations. We can look at cached lookups, website info. So there's a lot of good stuff in just DNS lookup or DNSstuff.com. What I like to use it for is it gives us good raw whois output, as well as the primary DNS servers and information about their their email servers as well. We can look up top-level domains, and subdomains. Now, a top-level domain is something like com, mil, gov, org, UK, AU, CA, US, biz. And then the domain is something like Microsoft, CompTIA, EC Council. And then the subdomain is not the name of a website necessarily, but a child domain like West Coast, East Coast, North America, South America, sales. These are major divisions within the company that merit their own domain name, but they're part of like a whole hierarchical structure. There are loads of tools, Netcraft, Sublister. These are just a few of the search tools you can use. So for example, Sublister. It runs in Linux. You can install it in Kali. You can say apt install Sublister. Notice the 3 in place of the E. And then to run it, you say Sublister, tac-d, and then the domain name. So if I just zoom in on this, you can see it. I did a Sublister, tac-d, comptia.org, and it'll search Baidu and Yahoo and Google and Bing and Ask and Netcraft and all these different places. And then it'll say, I found 136 subdomains. Now, what they do is they actually can't make a distinction between a host name and a subdomain. But so like www.comptia.org, that looks like just a web server, not a subdomain. But academic-store, I don't know about that. Or admin, those might be whole subdomains, especially academic.store, as opposed to just a website. So that is using Sublister. We can get all sorts of DNS information. Now, you should already know these DNS record types, but just here's a little list to remind you. The host record, the email server, the DNS server, alternate names for some host or website, the original writable copy of the DNS zone, whoever is the start of authority, service records, especially for Active Directory, reverse lookup records, pointers. I know an IP, I don't know the name, or the responsible person, or host info, or text. You should know these. We can query DNS to find out this information so that we can have targets. There are other tools. DNS lookup, domain dossier. You can just simply do a Google search. Domains owned by, and then some name. There are tools to interrogate DNS. Dig and MyDNS and Professional Tool Set, DNS Records, DNS Watch, Domain Tools, DNS Query Utility, DNS Lookup. So loads and loads of tools to interrogate DNS. To look up where people physically are, and we've mentioned this before, Google Maps, Google Earth, Wikimapia, Yahoo and Bing and National Geographic maps. So we can see physically where they are. We can see the surrounding terrain, the streets coming up to them. Are there any places we could just sit and observe them from with binoculars? So that is getting DNS logical and physical location information.